Wave 4 of the Mario Kart Deluxe Booster Course Pass has finally been released, and this wave has to be the best one we have gotten yet. This wave brought us our first Double Dash track to the Booster Course Pass, as well as probably my favorite track so far, Yoshi's Island. While it would be fun to take a look at these tracks and give my opinion, I decided I would wait until Wave 6 releases and review the second half of the DLC together. Instead, I will be predicting the last two waves of the Booster Course Pass. And if you don't want any potential spoilers on what's to come, now is your chance to click off the video. With that being said, I'm the biggest nub on YouTube, Christendo, and this is my prediction of Waves 5 and 6 of the Mario Kart Deluxe Booster Course Pass. Wave 5 will launch sometime in the summer, probably late July or early August. You may be wondering how I will predict these tracks, and my answer is using leaks we have been given. When Waves 1 and 2 released, there was some leaked data released as well, with the most important being the prefix leak. While this leak was slightly off with Wave 3 when a GCN track was replaced by a Wii track, I still think this leak is credible and we'll be using this to predict the upcoming tracks. Our first cup will be the Feather Cup, which is said to have a Tour track, Wii track, GBA track, and another Tour track. I think in this cup we will get Tour Los Angeles Laps, Wii Koopa Cape, GBA Sunset Wilds, and a new city track based on Athens, Greece that I will call Tour Athens Acceleration. Tour Los Angeles Laps is an easy way to kickstart Wave 5 as it's a summer-themed track that takes you through a beach, oil plant, and a baseball stadium. I feel like this track will have 3 sections rather than 3 laps, as each of the starting lines and its variants on Tour are different, making this the first section-based Tour original track. Wii Koopa Cape makes the most sense as a Wii track for this wave as it screams summer. The other options for Wii tracks that could be in the spot are Wii Dry Dry Ruins and Wii Rainbow Road, as these tracks have both been remade in Mario Kart Tour. I didn't put Rainbow Road in this spot as I feel it would make way more sense in the spot later on, and in the case of Dry Dry Ruins, I feel it would kind of blend in with the other desert-themed tracks we already have in the game, so this spot would have to go to Koopa Cape. GBA Sunset Wilds is basically confirmed to be in the Booster Course Pass at this point, and with this being the final GBA spot, I feel it's appropriate to be here. I say this track is basically confirmed as it's a track in Mario Kart Tour already, and because of the Wave 2 prefix leak, they'll at the beginning of songs a track that will be in future waves. If this track doesn't end up happening, I'd honestly be very surprised as there is so much evidence of it happening. And our final track of this cup, Tour Athens Acceleration. As of the time of me making this video, an Athens track has not been confirmed for Mario Kart Tour. However, in the game's files, there have been assets like pillars attached to a file named MobAT, with Mob meaning mobile. If it wasn't for the pillar asset, it could be guessed that the track could be Atlanta based on the file name, but thanks to having these assets, we can determine it will most likely be Athens. Up next is the Cherry Cup, which will house the Tour track, GCN track, Sinnes track, and a Nitro track to finish off the wave. I think this cup will have a city track based on Madrid, Spain, called Tour Madrid Momentum, followed by GCN TK Mountain, Sinnes Bowser Castle 3, and to finish off, Piranha Plant Cove as this wave's Nitro track. Tour Madrid Momentum is not confirmed to be a Tour track at this time, much like Athens Acceleration. However, similar to the Athens track, there is a file in the Tour files named MobMD. However, there aren't any assets that have been found that are exclusive to this track, making it harder to predict. Madrid, however, is the most popular guess when it comes to MobMD, so I decided this would be an appropriate track to start the Cherry Cup. GCN DK Mountain may be considered a strange pick for Wave 5, as there's already another Double Dash track that fits perfectly in a summer wave, but I think this track fits here as it adds a bit of variety in this wave. Another popular track I have seen a lot of people think will come rather than DK Mountain is GCN Mushroom Bridge. However, I feel if that track came to the Booster Course Pass, it would have been in Wave 4, as I feel it's a bit too easy to fit into Wave 5. Sinnes Bowser Castle 3 I feel will be the final Super Mario Kart track to come in the Booster Course Pass. The remaining options would be Choco Island, Ghost Valley, Koopa Beach, Vanilla Lake, and Bowser Castle. The ones that can easily be knocked out are Ghost Valley, as it's very similar to GBA Blue Lake, which is already in the Booster Course Pass, and Choco Island, as there's already a desert-themed track in this wave with GBA Sunset Wilds. The two popular theories are either Vanilla Lake, because it's advertised in Wii Coconut Mall, or Koopa Beach, as this wave will be released in the summer. I do see problems with these tracks, however. Vanilla Lake would feel too similar to another track that's in the Booster Course Pass already, GBA Snowland, and Koopa Beach would add on to the abundance of summer-themed tracks we're already getting in this wave, so that leaves us with Bowser Castle. While there haven't been any remakes of the Sinnes Bowser Castle tracks yet, supposedly there will be a remake in Tour soon based on the ID theory, which is when there's a gap in the ID listing in the Mario Kart Tour files. While it could be any variation of this track, I feel like Nintendo will go with Sinnes Bowser Castle 3, as it seems the most interesting layout-wise, and because they like the third variant of Super Mario Kart tracks, as seen with Donut Plains 3 and Mario Circuit 3 in the game already. And lastly, finishing off this cup is Piranha Plant Cove. The atmosphere of this track is perfect for the summer, with it being a water-based track that takes you through an underwater ruins. Even if you don't take into account that the wave will release in the summer, as of now, Piranha Plant Cove is the newest Nitro track in Tour, and I don't think Nintendo will give us 2 waves in a row where there's a new Nitro track released in the DLC before coming to Tour. This track is especially unique compared to the other Nitro tracks in the Booster Course Pass so far, as it has different variants, making it entirely possible for this track to get the city track treatment with different routes each lap. With Wave 5 wrapped up, it's time to move on to Wave 6, the final wave of the Mario Kart Deluxe Booster Course Pass. This wave will probably release in the first couple weeks of December and will house the final 2 cups of the DLC. Our first cup in this wave will be the Acorn Cup, which will house a Tour track, GCN track, and 2 Nitro tracks. I believe this cup will start with Tour Vancouver Velocity, followed by GCN Mushroom Bridge, and then 2 unreleased Nitro tracks, Plant Paradise and DK Arcade. Tour Vancouver Velocity is the only city track that makes sense to kickstart the wave, as the track is a bit snowy. This track has you driving through the Vancouver Olympics cauldron, as well as a skating rink, as hockey is a big sport in Canada. The track takes place during nighttime and has the northern lights, so you can tell this track is going to look beautiful. I know earlier I said that GCN Mushroom Bridge would be too easy of a track for the later waves in the Booster Course Pass, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought this track would fit into the DLC. Originally, I was going to put GCN Dino Jungle here as it's more suited to be a later wave track, but since that track and GCN DK Mountain have similar themes, I think Nintendo would want to make sure there's variety. Originally, there was supposed to be a Wii track in this spot, which was Wii Maple Treeway. However, with that taking over the Double Dash track spot in Wave 3, I think it's appropriate to have a GCN track take its place in Wave 6. Plant Paradise is our first of the Nitro tracks from this wave. You may be asking where did this one come from, and the answer is I just came up with this. There are two Nitros that are datamined in the tour files, being Mod BK and Mod BR, but I feel like these tracks fit better elsewhere, so I had to come up with my own for this one, as there weren't any files for this third Nitro. This one is probably my least likely to happen prediction, but if it were to happen, I'd guess this track would have you driving through a garden where you had to avoid obstacles such as piranha plants, Montimals, and Wigglers. And the finale of this cup is DK Arcade. As I mentioned in the last track, this is one of those datamined courses, being Mob DK. However, this track doesn't have any exclusive assets attached to it. The popular theory is that since the file name has DK, it will be a Donkey Kong themed track, but the question is what kind of DK track? A lot of people think it will be a track based on the Donkey Kong Country series, however, we kind of already got that with 3DS DK Jungle in the base game. If it isn't a Donkey Kong Country themed track, then I think a track based on the Donkey Kong arcade game can happen. I think it would be cool if they took some other arcade games and incorporated them into the track, such as the Mario Bros arcade game or something along those lines. With that said, we are now onto our last cup, the Spiny Cup. This cup will hold a tour track, GCN track, a Nitro track, and a Wii track to finish it off. I think this cup will have the last unconfirmed Tour C track based on Cairo, Egypt, Tour Cairo Circuit, followed by GCN Daisy Cruiser, an unreleased Nitro track called Bathroom Rush, and Wii Rainbow Road to finish off the Booster Course Pass. Tour Cairo Circuit is the last of the not officially announced Tour C tracks, but unlike the other two, there are no files for this track. You may question how I came up with this A track rather than other well-known cities like Seattle or Chicago, but for this one, I used the promo art from Mario Kart Tour. If you look at the promo art, you can see there's a landmark for each of the other real-world locations, but there's also pyramids that belong to no city track released yet. Some could argue that the pyramids could represent a retro track, such as the newly added Wii Dry Dry Ruins or GBA Yoshi Desert, but judging on the other elements on this promo art, I don't think this is the case. GCN Daisy Cruiser is the final Double Dash track for the Booster Course Pass. While many feel it would be better in Wave 5, I think there are too many tropical type tracks already, so I decided to put it here. With this track being a fan favorite from Double Dash, similar to GCN DK Mountain, and having a tour remake, I think this is the most likely candidate to take the spot when it comes to the Double Dash tracks. Bathroom Rush is the final of our Nitro track, and is the unreleased one we know the most about. This track has the file name of Mob BR, but unlike Mob DK, there are some assets attached to this one. The assets that are attached to this track include Bath Bomb, Debris, Duck Toy, Road Sponge, Karibo, or Guma Float Toy, and 4 Jump Clothespins. With all these assets, it's hard to imagine this track not being a bathroom themed one, and I feel like the chaos we can get with such an obscure track idea is perfect to feature in the final cup. With the last track of the Booster Course Pass being a Wii track, it only makes sense for it to be Wii Rainbow Road. After Wave 3 ended with 3DS Rainbow Road, it only makes sense for Wave 6 to end a similar way. And with Wii Rainbow Road making its debut in Mario Kart Tour in the 2023 Space Tour, it's basically been confirmed at this point. With track predictions said and done, there's one more thing to look at, which is characters. When Wave 4 was announced, we were also shown Birdo, who came alongside the brand new Yoshi's Island track. Afterwards, there was speculation on how Nintendo was going to add this new character into the roster. Were they going to put clones in one spot to make room for new characters, or were they going to make an entire new roster for new characters to go on? The question was answered when Wave 4 released. Nintendo made a new row on the roster that will house the brand new characters, starting with Birdo. This new row has 6 slots for new characters. However, since we only have Birdo at this time, there are still 5 slots open. So the question is, who could take these spots? I feel that Nintendo would divide the 5 characters between the next 2 waves by giving Wave 5 2 characters and Wave 6 3. The first character of Wave 5 I think will be Petey Piranha, who hasn't made an appearance in the series since his debut in Mario Kart Double Dash. Petey makes the most sense in this spot as this wave's Nitro track is in fact Piranha Plant Cove, and this is the spot next to King Boo, who was Petey's partner in Double Dash. The other character for Wave 5 I think we will get is Diddy Kong, who also debuted in Mario Kart Double Dash. Diddy Kong would make the most sense in this wave as this is the wave with GCN and DK Mountain, and he's a highly requested returning character, so I could definitely see him making his grand return in this wave. With Wave 6 having 3 characters, I think it's appropriate to start this wave off with Pauline, who debuted in Mario Kart Tour. Ever since her return in Super Mario Odyssey, she has become a main member of the Mario Party and appeared in several spin-offs, such as the Mario Sports games. Add on the fact that in this wave, I think we'll get a Nitro track based off the original Donkey Kong arcade game, which was the game Pauline debuted in, and I think it's very likely for Pauline to get this spot. Before we get into our last 2 characters, I wanted to take a quick moment and with some honorable mentions. The first one I'd like to mention is Kamek. Kamek was originally supposed to be in Mario Kart 64, but was scrapped last minute and replaced by Donkey Kong, who was also supposed to be in Mario Kart 8 as he had an emblem in the files, however he was also cut from that game as well. I definitely feel it is possible for Kamek to make his debut in a mainline Mario Kart game with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but I feel he's slightly less likely than the characters I picked. The Bros enemies, including Hammer Bro, Fire Bro, Ice Bro, and Boomerang Bro, are another great contender to be part of the Booster Course Pass character roster. I chose these characters over other enemies as I feel like since there are many variants of them, they'd be more likely to make it in over others like Charge and Chuck. If there were a couple more slots open for characters, I think these guys are a no-brainer to come, but since there aren't, I don't think they'll make the cut. And the last honorable mention I want to bring up is Poochie, who's just announced from Mario Kart Tour. I was considering maybe adding Poochie to the last slot over the character I ended up putting there, but I just don't think Poochie will end up making it, especially with Birdo being the character who returned to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the Yoshi's Island Nitro track. Now back onto the topic of characters I think we will see in the Booster Course Pass. I think we'll have to wait all the way until Wave 6 for the return of Funky Kong, who made his debut in Mario Kart Wii. With the last track of the Booster Course Pass being Wii Rainbow Road, a track from the origin game of this Kong, I feel this would be the perfect reason to bring back the funkiest character there is. And to finish out the Booster Course Pass, I think we have to end with the most obscure character to have ever been in the Mario Kart series, Rob, who debuted in Mario Kart DS. While he may not have been in a Mario Kart game since Mario Kart DS and doesn't even have a model for tour, I think Rob would be the ideal way to finish off the character slots. If you take a look in the row he would appear in, you can see that it's filled with characters not from the Mario franchise, so it wouldn't make sense to put a character from the series in this row. And who is a character from a past Mario Kart game that is not native to the Mario series? You heard it here first, folks. Rob will in fact make an appearance in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And that concludes my prediction for the rest of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. I am super excited to see how the rest of the DLC turns out, and I'm sure a lot of you agree with me on this. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't yet, consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel, as it helps out a ton. If you want to see another video by me, there is a crazy video on screen now where I give you my reasons as to why you should totally buy Mario Strikers Battle League. With that being said, I'm the biggest nub on YouTube, Christendo, signing off, and I hope you have an amazing day.